Welcome back to another episode of The Loco Fit Show, where we redefine what healthy means to you. I'm your host, Laurin Conlon, and this week I'm joined by Coach Gill.
Hi.
And we are going to be doing one of our reacts. Yeah, that's actually the title, Reacts with like 6 S's.
Yeah.
Laurin and Gill react. So two things
on the internet.
The internet, on the World Wide Web. We are reacting. So
fun.
We have some good ones for this week. I am excited to dive into these. So.
Me too. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, whether it's controversial or not, but I think some of these are pretty relevant right now, and I feel like they've just been floating around a lot. So to dive right in, the first one has to do with the idea that focusing on your health and fitness goals is obsessive, or is it?
Yeah.
And I saw a post on this. You read it. It was pretty extreme, I would say, like just very exaggerated.
It just took such a escalated turn. Like it was kind of on, like we were on like a curved road, and then it was like a sharp U-turn the other direction really quick within a 3-thread post.
Yeah. And I think this take is definitely one we don't agree with, but it was just kind of framing the idea of focusing on your health and wellness goals as this extreme that is just unrealistic, or something that would just take so much away from like everything else in your life, when we know that's not true.
And then read the last part where it was like, well, I guess so. Read the first part and then go down.
Yeah. So to quote this post, this person says, "I think more people need to think critically about the emotional and mental space thinking constantly about health is taking up in their lives. If micromanaging your food intake is a hobby which genuinely gives you joy, then wonderful, have at it." And they finish off this post with saying, "To be blunt, I have books to write and friends to take care of. I don't have time for another part-time job that is just the shitty parts of church, self-abnegation, shame, constant monitoring, without any of the benefits, coffee, cake, and music." I was like, I really wanted to focus on that last bit.
Like, wait, how did we get here so quickly? Like the first part, okay, understand some of the aspects here, and then the sharp U-turn in the totally different direction. Because let's be honest, if you are trying to write books really effectively and you're trying to take care of your friends and be around for people in your life that are important, and you don't focus on your health and fitness goals, you're really going to struggle. Like, I don't know anybody who doesn't feel better from taking care of themselves, and it doesn't have to be obsessive. Like, there's nothing obsessive about this. Like, you can make it obsessive, but both things do not have to be true.
Yeah, it just kind of paints it in a black or white, where obviously we know doing anything with health and fitness, even like with science-based everything, you can't paint something in black and white. There's a lot of nuance into the conversation. And you can be extreme with things. There's instances where people have been extreme with things. That's not denying the possibility of it, but to think of a possibility of improving your lifestyle or changing your eating habits or just spending some time moving your body a little bit more, to see that as automatically, no, this is like too obsessive, too time consuming. It's going to take away from my life as is. That's just a really, really extreme way of putting it.
Yeah. And it's only showing the negatives, right? And this is not to say that there aren't really challenging things about trying to be healthier. But there are also challenging things that happen when you don't focus on this, right? And to be fair, I can see some of the points, right? I can see that some people get lost like in the absolute weeds and get super obsessive and develop, eating disorders or disordered eating. And certainly that can happen, right? But overall, I don't know what word I was trying to combine there. Overall, the net positive is so much more. And like, you can have the proverbial like coffee, cake, and music, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to just be like shame and like this rigidity. Like, whoa,
this rigidity, like cage that you're living in.
Yeah. Like, and that goes back to last segment with, the intentional weight loss doesn't work segment, right? this is painting such a negative picture, right? And this is someone who has probably tried a few things without a lot of success. And now they're blaming, you know, any like health and fitness in general, instead of saying, hey, maybe like this wasn't the best approach.
Or this could be someone too, where maybe it just hasn't clicked for them yet. If this really is something that they've tried in the past and haven't succeeded with, sometimes people will try over and over and over again until they're actually ready to make those changes. Because I can't want it more than you do. And I got to a point once where it was like, yeah, I've tried before, but I've failed. But I was mad at myself, not mad at the process. And when it finally clicked for me, I was actually able to follow through with things, and I actually got all the benefits from it. So it could be someone who's either tried things and kind of shoot it off, or someone who just isn't ready to confront the changes they actually need to make and kind of uses the reasoning of, no, it's just too obsessive, it's going to take over my life.
Yeah, and it's like, could it? Yes. But there are a lot of steps before that. Yeah. Right? And that is not a reason to not start. That's like saying, like, you know, if I lift weights a few times, you know, I'm going to look like Ronnie Coleman.
Oh my God, I was just going to say him.
Of course. He's like always like the default, like extreme example. Because I feel like everybody knows Ronnie Coleman. Even if you don't know bodybuilding, you just kind of know of Ronnie Coleman somehow, some way. I mean, obviously Arnold's probably a bigger example, but you know, let's just say that, right? Like, it's not going to happen. And there are certainly some things in life that I think, you know, maybe it's better to not open that box, right? Like when we're talking about things that have like a really high addiction potential or like very well-known negative side effects. Like, I'm probably not going to be like, you know what, maybe I'll try fentanyl, could work out. Like the potential downsides are like
far greater.
Pretty much all of them, right? Like, and I know, again, we're talking in extremes here, but this is to paint that picture of like, you know, you don't just develop this out of nowhere. And there are so many different methods that can work for people. And it's so sad that I feel like we're in this space now. And I really feel like people who are in this space in terms of coaches, trainers, any kind of practitioners, like this is what we are like working against at this point, right? Like, yes, we're combating like misinformation with like maybe some not as great protocols, but I also feel like now we're combating this almost like despondent attitude of like the whole, like against the whole industry in and of itself, you know, like I don't want to try because what if I develop these things, or what if it's so bad? And it's like, oh my gosh, like
this is thinking in really far extremes.
Yeah. We are like, this is all the way down the line.
Yeah. And
like,
there's no telling how you're going to go about things, right? Like I couldn't have told myself that if I started lifting, I would be over exercising or, you know, in the gym 7 days a week. Like you can't know that stuff and how you're going to end up when you start something that's overall positive. Yeah. So this is kind of framing something where it's like, you haven't even tried it yet, haven't tried incorporating it into your lifestyle, but you're already kind of framing this negative kind of outcome that you can't really plan for, that you can't really like predict, basically.
And I think it also speaks to the fact that there is this notion that it takes so much time to gain any benefits. And that's just not true, right? Like the example in this exact post was, I'm trying to write books and I'm trying to take care of my friends, right? And it's like, okay, totally get that, right? Like those are the two priorities that you've stated so far, like per this post. Which of course is just one thread of their life. Like I know they're doing more things than this, but in this was the example that was given. So it's like, okay, if you are doing all those things, that's number one, you still have plenty of time to dedicate a little bit of time to like walking and eating a little better and drinking some water. And that's going to have all these net positives for the exact things that you listed. And I think that we're still against this mindset of, if I'm going to do this, it has to be all consuming. And it's like, if you just, you know, moved for 30 minutes a day and, you know, tweaked your eating habits just a little bit, like you would be farther ahead. Like maybe you're not going to, you know, win the Olympics. You know what I mean? Like it's just not gonna.
God, Laurin, damn it!
I'm leaving.
Ruined my dreams.
I'm leaving. I know. Anyway, I'm so sorry that this is how I had to break it to you, but
guys, my secret dream was to be an Olympic skater or something.
Those calves are the limiting.
No.
Every podcast.
You have to remind me of my calves in every podcast. I'm leaving.
Like, this is it. I'm storming out officially.
This is my breaking point. It's my 13th reason.
I haven't seen that, so I don't really know what that means, but are you going to kill me or something?
That's rare, like my 13th reason for killing myself.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, this got
very dark.
Really dark.
Anyway.
We're just going to maybe have to censor that word. Don't you have to do that on like Instagram? Or that's how people spell words weird. Like,
yeah.
Like not weird, but like they spell them like sex is like segs or whatever. And
yeah.
It's like, what is happening?
Like just deleting myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going away.
Yeah, I'm just going to go take a nap again.
Yeah, another nap. Joe's going to take the final nap.
Forever nap.
Anyways.
I'm sorry.
What a segue. What a segue, Jill.
That's where my brain goes.
Yeah, we know. Okay. But that's what makes you. But like, I just think that there's so many extremes. Okay, like we were joking about this, right? Like this is a great example. Like we were just joking about that, and we just took that so far.
Yeah.
Well, that's what this is like. What this post is saying.
Yeah.
But like in a legitimate way.
In a literal
legit way. And there is so much less time needed to make improvements. And again, the two things that they listed specifically for this post are two things that would be made better by like taking better care of yourself, which is what is so hard about this.
It's kind of, I don't know if you used the word ironic when we were talking about it before, but it's like if you were simple changes in your eating behaviors or moving your body throughout the day, like you can actually have a little bit more energy and feel a little bit better about taking care of your family or getting your writing done. Like you might actually have improvements in these other bigger priorities of yours.
For sure.
With some of these smaller improvements. And there's also something to be said too about like it's not always sunshine and rainbows when we're making changes like these. Yeah, it's not going to be a walk in the park or very easy. It does come with challenges and struggles, and everyone has unique challenges with their circumstances. So it's not to say that there's no work up front that needs to be done for these things, but at the same time, it's not this overbearing job or task that is going to become a second job, basically.
Yeah.
So that's another extreme that's painted here with the amount of work and effort that goes into smaller changes over time.
Yeah, I mean, if you're following exclusively, physique athletes on social media, you might think, wow, this looks like a second job. But that is so far outside of the scope of any reality for most people, and again, that is a choice. Like that is clearly a choice. Or you're following like a top CrossFit athlete and they're training 3 to 4 hours a day. Like that's their choice, but that is not what is necessary or required to even gain, like that's to become like the top 1%. It's
by no means what is like a generalized recommendation.
Absolutely not. So had to put that one to rest, but I think that's a really great thing, and that just continuously speaks to that mindset, and where I think that, again, coaches, trainers, practitioners, everyone in the space, we really have to start to like band together and figure out, okay, like how can we make this more accessible to a lot of people? Because now it's no longer about a lack of information. I feel like it's just a mindset shift that we need to make within the space.
Yeah, and I know this is kind of dragging the topic out a little bit more, but it's similar to a point the post made too about like nitpicking, and that's also like another kind of barrier to entry people might put in their way when it comes to like tracking your food. Oh, this is just nitpicking. Oh, this is just obsessive. Oh, it's too time consuming. And if you frame these things as those things, yeah, you're never going to actually put yourself in a place to benefit from those things. So it's just another kind of layer to it that we generally can see when it comes to starting the process of tracking macros, or if someone wants to change their physique, and tracking is a great way to help learn about what their current behaviors are. It's going to be a learning curve, and that's always something I kind of preface with clients who have never tracked before. It's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be some required work up front when we're trying something new and trying a new habit, but that work pays off because it becomes less work after we do that initial work.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
So much. And the initial, again, that initial amount is usually smaller than people think too, right? Like it's
I think we kind of overblown, like it's overblown in our heads when we think about.
It's so much scarier. It's like, oh my gosh, how long is this going to take? And it's like, yes, it is going to take a while. not going to sugarcoat that by any means. And I think that's to fight against that kind of idea of like, in 8 weeks, I'm going to have my dream body. And it's like, okay, that's also not realistic, right? But in 8 weeks, you can do a fucking lot of really good shit that is going to be able to apply for the rest of your life in terms of like what habits we're laying down and what behaviors we're creating. Like there's so much that we can do in a month even, you know?
Yeah.
And that, of course, you have to build upon that, but it's not like, you know, you're going to be toiling away for 3 years before you see any changes, right? Like there is a lot that happens in that time frame.
Yeah, exactly. So another topic that I saw recently, I actually saw this like a couple of days ago. It was going around a lot on TikTok, and I told you about this too. It was called like the 12-3-30 method, or it's just called the 12-3-30 workout, I think. And at first I was like, oh, what is this? It sounds like, you know, I don't know. It just sounded more complicated in my brain. But really it's not anything like super complicated. It's really just a way to set your mode on the treadmill. So it's a treadmill workout. So 12 incline, 3 speed for 30 minutes. And a lot of the, I guess, posts that I was seeing on TikTok about this, well, first I'm like, well, it's just a way to use the treadmill, right? Pretty challenging with the 12 incline for 30 minutes. And some of the, like, I think problems that I had with it were people coming on the app and saying that this is the workout to burn body fat, or this is the workout to help with your PCOS or your hormone balancing goals, you know? And that's where, you know, I kind of have more of an issue with it too. Not to mention that, hey, like this one cardio session is not the only way to burn body fat. But that's where a lot of the, I think, you know, that's the fun part of TikTok, where a lot of people kind of get caught up in this hype. People are like, oh, my day one of trying 12-3-30. And, you know, it's just a cute little snowball that there's still some misinformation in there.
Had me in the first half. And then, so yeah, like when you told me about this, I was like, oh yeah, that's like a pretty good workout. Yeah. Like solid, like, yeah, it's just, you know, has a name, pretty clever, like, all right. And then, oh yeah, it's going to fix all your what? How did we,
why are we bringing PCOS into this?
Quite like the last thing. How did we get from here to here? Right. And I do think that, again, okay, taking like a little bit of a leap, doing something that is lower intensity and more steady state. Yes. Is that going to be better for most people's hormones in terms of like not crashing their adrenals, or totally, you know, being so disruptive to their system that they might have hormonal disruption? Sure. I can get behind that logic, but to say that it's going to be like, it's going to balance your hormones. Like, and I could also see, okay, yeah, if you have PCOS, and you need to increase your insulin sensitivity, you may say you have gained some weight through that process of having PCOS and you need to adjust. Yeah. Okay. Again, all these things can be possibly true, but it's like, it's not this like direct thing. And that is the issue that I have with so many things like on TikTok or Instagram, where it's like, do this and this is exactly what's going to happen. And people, and I referred to that as like the brain rot on the last podcast that we just did, because it's like, it's what it is. It's like, we have become so conditioned to see something and believe that it has to have like this exact specific reason or this like crazy response.
Take it as fact just because it popped up on your TikTok feed.
Yeah. Or it has to be that intense or extreme. And it's like, no, it could just be a great treadmill workout.
Like, a cool recommendation.
Here's some of the reasons why it might help you. Going to improve insulin sensitivity. Going to be great for burning body fat. Not going to be as taxing on your system. Okay, I can get behind all of these things. Best workout for hormonal health and PCOS. Why did we have to make that claim? Why did we have to be so dramatic?
It's just like another step. And I don't even know who came up with that, with this trend. Like, I'm not that deep into it, as far as like the claims with like the hormones and stuff. But it's
behind this? We gotta know.
I just want to talk.
I just want to talk. I'm really nice, I swear.
But like, yeah, I'll buy you coffee. Maybe. But with like the claim, it's just like taking it one step further to where like, oh, how many views can this get, or how many people could buy into this and follow my routine, or follow my account for me promoting that it's doing X, Y, and Z, you know? And it's just, I don't want to say it's like preying on people with those issues, but it's like there are tangible things that you can get from it, but it's not one of those things.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And like, is it possible? Yes. Is it like this direct outcome every single time? Probably not. Because what if I said, you know what, I want to do this, but on the bike. Mm-hmm. Where's my incline now? Oh no, now I can't. Like, no, it's like that could be equated to a bike workout, right? Like those are the things where it's like when it's so extreme about one modality and people just get
like this
so
is the only
uptight.
one I have to use. And there's no reason to be so uptight about the mode of cardio you're using. I've had questions before in the past too. It's like, oh, do you have a recommended like incline speed, like incline and speed for my cardio sessions? And part of me is just like, it's kind of based on what's going to be challenging for you, especially if we're going for like that moderate intensity range. So what's easy for someone might be challenging for someone else. So I'm not going to give like recommended like, hey, like this exact setup for it. And that's also part of it too, where it's like, yeah, that's going to be a pretty challenging cardio workout for like the 12 incline, but it's not the only way you need to do cardio.
Yeah. I couldn't do that sustainably. That would like jack my hips up, but I can walk faster than 3, right? Mm-hmm. I can throw a weight vest on, like, right. So it's like, okay, what if I did 4 incline, but I walked at 3.5 and then I had a vest on? Yeah. So
or what if you did like just a scale, like, hey, I'll like go to 6 and then maybe I'll do a minute at 8 and then go back down, you know?
And I get it. People are trying to make things simple, and someone could maybe be listening to this and being like, why are they trying to overcomplicate it? But instead of looking at it in that sense of saying, hey, why can't you just give a direct answer? It's more about saying, okay, what are the reasons why this would work? And what are some like alternatives that I could use here? Because it's not just like this one thing that's like the end all be all. It's about saying, okay, let's critically think as to why this could work and what are some other ways that this could work in terms of some adjustments that I need to make.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the case with a lot of things you see floating around on social media. It's like, yeah, there's some good things out of this like point, but like we should have just stopped there.
Yeah, that's how, honestly, that's, traditional bro science. Before we had TikTok, we had bro science, and a lot of the claims made by bro science are pretty good. Like
they're rooted in, good intentions and good rationale.
They make sense. If you look at what they're saying, they make sense. How they're describing it to be happening, not so much. Like if anybody remembers all of the, fish thinning your skin. I was just
thinking of that one too. It's like that's such a good example.
It's like the best example, because people used to say, like, quite literally, this is not hyperbole, that eating fish will thin your skin. Now, what does that mean? That means that you have less subcutaneous body fat. So your actual skin is not thinner, but you have less body fat underneath your skin. And if you switch out, what most people were doing is they would switch out red meat or in a higher fat meat for fish, which has a lot lower fat, which has less calories, they would be getting leaner. So yes, eating fish thins the fat underneath your skin, doesn't thin your skin. So like the rationale is like, that is working. But like how they explained it makes no sense. So there are so many of those
the
examples.
Reasoning is just,
it's just, hey, we gotta clean up whoever made up that claim.
I want to talk.
And made it sick. I really do want to talk, because I have a lot
That's
of
a
questions.
good interview for the podcast.
If anyone can find the first person who wrote that on a message board, let me know. Because man, like how did that like stick? But that's just like that perfect example of like, oh yeah,
hey, this person looks good, I'm gonna listen.
And it again kind of makes sense. You're like, oh, I mean, my skin is thinner. My thin is skinner.
My thin is skinner. That sounds like Leonard Skinner.
I'm gonna say that
Leonard Skinner.
I'd be like, yeah, my meal is. Can't even say it. Okay, I'm not gonna say that. Don't worry. But yeah, if you guys can find that person, let me know.
Yeah, perfect. But yeah, super just.
What a good segue, right?
Yeah, right. So good. And as we're talking about food, another. This is my attempt. Are you hungry? Because I am. This is another really good one that I've personally been interested in, just because, not because, I need, tell me what to do, but it is a claim where someone would say you can't lose body fat by smoking weed or being a I don't know what the word. Can
Stoner?
I say stoner? Yeah.
You can say it. Okay. You're allowed.
Stoner.
You're allowed. Like, what word are you going to say? I don't know.
Like, am I allowed to say that? Stoners.
Yes, you're allowed to say the word stoner.
Okay. But yeah, this is one of those, I feel like I've seen a lot more people, which is kind of refreshing on Instagram, that are a little bit more open about like, hey, like I actually, maybe smoke a little bit of weed before going to the gym or just in day-to-day life. I'm not someone by any means who does it like frequently, but I do partake here and there just for like anxiety reasons, or even pre-gym. I found it to be kind of helpful to put me in like a flow state kind of way. But it is one of those claims that you'd see a lot where there's kind of a lot of people might have this negative stigma about this kind of behavior not coinciding with being more, just into fitness or having physique goals or losing body fat, mainly because munchies are one concern. And also maybe because you might associate someone who does that with being lazy or, all these other things. But I thought that was a pretty interesting take.
There was a girl you were sharing, and like the post was like, you can't lose body fat or you can't have a fitness goal, whatever it might be. Yeah. And I think that a big one, especially clients will ask us about, munchies, eating more. How do I, manage this? And I would say that honestly, every person is so different, just like everybody has a different response to alcohol, different response to, lack of sleep, different response to anything, right? So if someone is choosing to use, cannabis in any way, smoking, edibles, etc., some people have a huge response with hunger. Some people don't get that at all. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I would say that if you're one of those people who does get really, really hungry, you're going to have to learn to moderate the environment a little bit better. It's just like we have plenty of clients who have, who when they, if they have a drink or two, it's not a problem, but if they have a few, of course, that's lowering their inhibition. So now they're more likely to snack, not really recognize it.
It's all the behaviors after the couple of drinks.
Exactly. So it's the same thing here where it's like, okay, if you're someone who, for example, just for this podcast, we're going to be focusing more on like the munchie aspect of it. If that's a problem that you've had before, okay, clearly in that moment, we're not going to be making the best, you're not going to change the decision like in that moment. But for the next time, okay, let's reflect on, all right, am I someone who has a high response to this? Okay, maybe I don't even open the floodgates. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I'm hungry, but I have to like tell myself like, okay, it's because of this, right? And maybe not even opening that kind of door. Like if you're like, you know what, I took an edible and I want to watch a movie and I'm going to have all the food out. Probably if that's you, not the best idea, right? Like,
there's a lot of self-awareness that is involved with this.
Yes. And you'll know pretty quick, right? Yeah. It's not one of those things like I've found that really changes a ton, you know, like everybody seems to have.
I've never really experienced.
I don't really get it a ton either. I have a very extreme response if I have just a little bit too much, or I get very, very paranoid. Very crazy. And some people don't get that at all. They just fall asleep. I literally won't sleep at all. Like none.
I feel like it can help me sleep, but it depends.
I'm saying if I have too much. Oh, so the line for all these behaviors and how we respond to things is very dose dependent. So you'll know pretty early on if you are someone who maybe deals with more of that hunger, kind of like munchy, craving, snacky kind of feeling. And that's where we have to, like anything else, we have to set up our environment better. We have to say, okay, I need to make sure that I have enough water around. Maybe I need to make sure that I've eaten, beforehand, so I'm not going into this even hungrier. Maybe I don't have snacks around for now. It's probably not the best plan, especially if that's like your goal right now is to moderate that. And it's totally possible to work through just like anything else with food. We are, while it might feel like in the moment, we're a little bit powerless to it. We're not. It's harder.
Get into that too.
Yeah.
It could definitely be more challenging because mentally you might be like, oh, I really want this thing. But there is always control in that scenario. And having that self-awareness is the first thing to help you combat that in the moment when it does come up.
For sure. And I think that that's just going to be, like anything, when we're talking about changing behaviors, we're going to have to really go through some trial and error to figure out what helps, what doesn't. And maybe you can have some snacks, but you have to figure out, okay, what's the way that I can do that in a way that is Like, let's say, like the movie example again, right? Okay, if I just have all this stuff out, I'm not going to regulate myself as well.
Yeah.
But hey, if I get the 100-calorie popcorn bag and I make that and I say, this is what I'm going to have, okay, well, really savor that. And that can fit into your plan, no problem. So I think it's about figuring out those things that work, like opening, you know, a party-sized bag of M&Ms, like probably isn't going to end well.
Me up.
That honestly sounds great.
Yo,
not
in the
gonna
movies
lie.
when I was a kid, though, they used to have those like big bags of M&Ms. Like I'm talking like.
Dude.
Like it could probably feed like 4 people.
Oh, that
I'd
feeds
get that
serving size
and
of
just
one.
kill it when I was a kid. Every time we were at the movies.
Dude, speaking of popcorn and Dune, what a loop! Did everybody see all the Dune 2 popcorn memes? Because that shit that's really the main motivation that I wanted to go see the movie.
Does every theater have it though?
I don't know. I don't even like movie theater popcorn, but I was
just here for the bucket.
I was just here for the bucket. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, just look up Dune 2 popcorn memes. And you're welcome.
So good.
More insights into our humor and how our brain works. But
Tee.
But no, I think that's a really good topic. And who was that girl? If people, you said you like her
name is
her posts.
Self-Care with Carissa.
Okay.
I believe. I like her content.
Yeah. So I think it's always great when we always want to. Our reaction series is often talking about things that are maybe a little crazy and off the wall. But that, in this case, this was like a good one. So we recommend.
And a lot of it is also centered around all the things we want to be doing anyway, too. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, like you can still lead this lifestyle and check all the big boxes and still partake in something that you might need or benefit from, or if you just like the occasional edible here and there. You know, if you're checking a lot of those big boxes, there's no reason that this should hinder you from making your progress. You just need to have a lot of that self-awareness in how you respond to these certain things.
And as always, everything is dose dependent, and there are obviously people who do have issues with it, not just food related, but in kind of larger, broader scope issues. But that's everything in life. So again, you have to regulate, okay, is this going to be a net positive for me, or the negatives far outweighing the positives here? So as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in, and we would love for anyone to send me or Jill anything you want us to cover on this, you know,
Send me stuff to bookmark.
Yes, please send us stuff. No matter how off the wall it is, we're interested. Actually, we're more interested if it's off the wall.
I love a good TikTok. Sometimes.
Yes. So yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, I hate the internet. But
I hate the internet, but this is amazing. So yeah, you can send either of us some videos or topics that you would like us to talk about in the reaction series. And for all other information about our coaching services, to reach out to work with us, you can visit redefinehealthybrands.com. And I had to do a little head twist when I said that. The new site is so gorgeous. So please go check it out. I'm still so pleased with that. But we hope you guys have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.